Cheers, guys. Epix911, welcome to the Elitist Geek VR news for Friday, September 9th, 2016. Friday means Gaming Friday with my bro Exity in the background there. Life is good, gaming is good, and as always, VR is hella good. So let's get into it, guys. The first thing to talk about is a story that I touched on 3 days ago. Jon Favreau, who's appeared as an actor, it's responsible for stuff like Iron Man. His latest VR project called, or his first and only new VR project called Goblins, Gnomes and Goblins. He's got a preview version available right now. It's about 5 minutes long. Thought it would make for a good quick look series game. Now, because it's only 5 minutes for the preview, anybody who wants to play it themselves, I warn you, the entire thing will essentially be a spoiler. So maybe avoid it and check it out after you've had a chance to play it. I will put a warning at the beginning of the video just for anybody who wants to play it on the Vive, because again, it's only about 5 minutes, the preview. And yeah, just give you the warning. So looking forward to that. Apparently the atmosphere is just top notch in that. Can't wait to try that out, especially after Emily wants to play yesterday, which yeah, I was able to sleep last night, but holy crap, that was an intense experience, to put it mildly. So gonna have to try that again. I'm gonna have to give that some more playtime. Next up, we have two products that I've talked about, Tiltbrush and SketchFab. Well, they are collaborating now in that SketchFab has added or extended functionality to allow Tiltbrush to use SketchFab to content share. So that's fantastic. That is exactly the kind of thing I talked about when I first talked about these products, is having the cooperation between them. You know, if there's one that specializes in one specific function, and then you've got something like SketchFab, which is more the distribution side, it just seems such a natural fit that they should come together. So it's good to see that happening. It's going to extend functionality of both products and ultimately get the VR tools like Tiltbrush out there for more people to use. So good move there from SketchFab and Tiltbrush. Next article has to do with, speaking of SketchFab, he's actually the CEO and co-founder of SketchFab, Alban Denoyel, and he also had an article on Upload VR, and he talks about the 3 reasons why he believes WebVR is the future of virtual reality. And he brings up a really good point, and the point being that we shouldn't necessarily judge a technology on what it can deliver today, but have a bit of an eye on what it could deliver tomorrow. And you can start that process on today's technology with an eye to the future. There is stuff out there that, yeah, it might not be able to deliver the ideal experience today, but that doesn't preclude it from being able to deliver that a few months from now, a few years from now. And I do agree with him on that point for WebVR. So let's get into the 3 points that he talks about. The first, he talks about distribution. And his thought is that, look, instead of trying to drag the people to the content, why not bring the content to the people? And WebVR is perfectly suited to doing exactly that. Bringing the content to things like Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitter, WordPress, you name it. Instead of having that mindset of people to content, let's have the mindset content to people. And I agree. I think that is another avenue. And it's the same philosophy behind having demonstration units in malls, bringing this to GameStops, Best Buys. People need to try VR to get VR. That's something we've been saying since day one. It's been true with pretty much everybody in our own lives, from the most skeptical of people to, you know, those who've been okay with embracing it, right? Trying it seems to make all the difference. So agreed. Let's change that mindset and let's through stuff like WebVR, bring it to the people that may not otherwise discover it. Second point he talks about is cross-platform, and that is definitely a potential strength for WebVR, is the fact that it can operate cross-platform. And cross-browser, whether it's Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, whatever you're using, have the ability to be cross-platform, even, whether it's Macintosh. And again, today we've got issues. We've got a lot of computers out there that may have just Intels, and they're not geared towards the kind of frame rate and latency that virtual reality needs. But if we start thinking about some of those challenges today, we can work towards a future where, hey, that will be possible. Intel doesn't improve as quickly as we would like, but they have certainly improved over the years. And I wouldn't put it past them to still have the ability to surprise us. And some of the recent acquisitions that they've undertaken are at least pointing them in the right direction. And while GPU is still not a strength of theirs right now at this point in time, it's the constant acquisitions, the amassing of different types of intellectual property and intelligence that will possibly get them to that point where that does push them in the right direction. And the third point he talks about is immediacy. And I got to agree with this one too. WebVR has the potential to bring content from anywhere to anywhere, literally within a click. Not a lot of setup time needed, not a lot of installation time needed. 1, 2, 3 clicks at most. It's the challenge that I see with software in general. Like if I'm likening it to my workplace, for example, you've got some great ERP programs out there. And ERP programs are what a lot of businesses use to handle inventory, sales, purchase orders, all of those things that kind of center around a general ledger module. The problem with so many of them is they are so cumbersome navigation-wise, so extremely cumbersome. And it's the single largest complaint I've gotten in my experience with probably about 4 different industry ERPs now, is that they are way too cumbersome navigation-wise. So absolutely, WebVR has the potential to streamline navigation and literally make content a click or two away. Next news story, and this one is a really good one. If you've been on the fence at all about purchasing VR games, or you missed the Steam summer sale, you got your VR unit after that, whether you are Rift or Vive, you're going to want to look into this one. This is the current Humble Bundle summer sale. There are literally a metric crap ton of VR titles on this thing. I'm going to talk about a few of them. The link is below. You can see the entire list, but listen to this. So Vanishing of Ethan Carter, 80% off, basically $3.99 US. Project Cars, and Ethan Carter's for Rift and Vive. Project Cars, same thing, Rift and Vive, 66% off, basically $10. Cat Lateral Damage for Vive only, 50% off. And just a couple more, literally the list is probably about 20, 30 long, guys. Crystal Rift, 70% off, $3. And Adrift, 50% off, so basically $10 for the game. So check it out, link below, lots of titles there to look at. And not miss out on, because I think the next big sale we're going to see probably is going to be the holiday one for Steam, and that's still a few months away. So a good opportunity to get some of these games that we've been talking about on this channel, that other people have brought up, and that you've maybe had some interest in. Now, this next news piece, it doesn't really surprise me. I guess it does from the point of view that, look, Nintendo, at least lately, they haven't been the most forward-thinking in terms of embracing some technologies. Others, they seem to embrace no problem, like the whole 3D, even though it was a horrible offering of 3D on the first 3DS, in my opinion. You could barely move your head and it would break the immersion. It's only with the new 3DS model that I purchased that it's at an acceptable level where I actually leave the 3D functionality on, right? And I get some benefit. I like it. The problem is in so many other areas, whether it's cartridge, adopting optical media, Nintendo has traditionally kind of been a little bit behind. Graphic prowess, GPUs, look at the current crop, whether it's the Wii, the GameCube, they weren't the fastest of the bunch, but they've always offered the Nintendo-style game experience. And that's something that fanboys of Nintendo will point to time and time again, that they go to Nintendo for the experience, not necessarily the technology. So it's a little surprising, but not really, that Miyamoto still doesn't believe VR allows, for bringing families together. I honestly don't think he spent any time around families that have VR, because if he has, he'd see that that's a crock of crap. Take my family, for example. I don't show a lot of that on this channel at all. I think you may have heard my wife the odd time, like when she's chuckling at me for being scared in Emily Wants to Play. But there are lots of times where we have had just a shit ton of fun gathered around watching each other play single-player VR experiences, taking turns, just giggling, the laughing, the family bonding time that we've had over VR has been nothing short of amazing. And every bit like it was when we played Mario Kart once upon a time on the GameCube. That was another family favorite. We'd gather around. Exidy, your family too, right?
Oh,
Mario Kart was huge.
Mario Kart on the Wii was huge for all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Get the kids around, wife, everybody has fun on it. Well, that's the kind of fun we were having with VR. And what would benefit Miyamoto, I think, is just to get out there and see it for himself. I don't get that he's really experienced it. And maybe he has, but it doesn't come across to me. It's like one of those skeptics that I was talking about, that they're all skeptical until they try it. And maybe he just needs to see it in a family environment to get it. But look at some of...
set in his ways is all.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely set in his ways. But there's some examples. There's one title that I personally haven't tried, but I've seen videos of, and it's Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which looks like a fantastic family-style game, right? You're literally waiting with anticipation for who is going to make the dumb maneuver and have the whole thing explode, right? Then there's other titles like Playroom VR for PlayStation coming up. These are all going to do exactly what he says he doesn't see in VR, and that's bring families together. So, don't agree with that, didn't agree with it then, still don't agree with it. He's got the right to his opinion, but I'm hopeful that it's an informed opinion, that he has gone out there to at least see the potential and not just be so set in his ways that he's just, precluded the possibility, right, from even being present. So we will see, but it looks, at least at this point in time, that Nintendo is not going to go VR on their next platform. Which is a shame, because the other thing he says is that Mario wouldn't translate very well. Well, I remember when the same thing was said about Mario 64. And if you look back at that experience, at least for me, and I know a lot of others because it was very popular at the time on the N64, it was a different way of experiencing Mario. It was awesome. The way you could play with the camera angles, the way the game ran. I mean, it was basically what, in my opinion, kind of what Lucky's Tale captures, right? It's a platformer. You would think that wouldn't translate very well to VR, but it does something unique in VR, and that's what Mario 64 first did. So even if you just went the Lucky's approach, I think you would capture that same essence of what made Mario 64 so special, but kick it up a notch. To have them not even try or experiment with that kind of blows my mind, but hey, power to Nintendo. They're still around. They must be doing something right. But I wish they would reconsider their VR, or at least be open to. And that's probably what they're doing, is just waiting to see where the dust settles, and then pick it the right direction, because they were burned so badly in the 90s with the VR experience that we won't talk about. Now, last piece of news has to do with software that I've talked about before, which is Vreal. And when I talked about it before, I kind of likened it to streaming in Twitch, the same type of idea. But today we actually get some updates on what exactly it can offer us. And one of the examples they talk about, and this is from author David Jagno. He does a lot of the really cool articles on Upload VR. He talks about the multiple virtual cameras that you can set up before even starting the stream. So you can really turn the whole stream into a cinematic experience. Set it up in such a way that when the stream starts, you can fluidly change between cameras, camera angles, and just give it a more pro-style experience that you just can't replicate, at least in the same way with the same ease in Twitch. So I like that potential. Check that out. The link is below. That's Vreal. And they talk about some other things to kind of, you can see they're trying to separate themselves from Twitch, and I get that, but you got to give Twitch the credit that it deserves for the streaming experience that it offers. But that doesn't mean you can't one-up it, and I can see that that's a bit of a concern of theirs, is making it seem so static that they're stuck in that same trench. They're not. They've got all kinds of potential, and the camera angle is just one example. So check that out. Links below. As always, guys, that is it. I will be coming back with the Gnomes and Goblins today, and possibly another game or two. As always, cheers, guys, and definitely catch you on the VR flip side.